I invite you to consider a question that captures the imagination of economists, policymakers, and everyday citizens alike. What if the wealth of the world's richest individual could be used to secure retirement for an entire nation? At first glance, the idea seems transformative, almost utopian. However, as with many bold ideas, the reality is far more complex. At the center of this discussion stands Elon Musk, widely recognized as the wealthiest individual on the planet. According to Forbes, Musk's net worth is estimated at approximately $773.5 billion. This figure alone is staggering. It exceeds the gross domestic product of many nations and represents an accumulation of capital unprecedented in modern history. Understandably, such a number invites speculation. If that wealth were redistributed, could it solve one of America's most persistent challenges, retirement security? To explore this idea responsibly, we must begin by understanding the nature of Musk's wealth. Contrary to popular perception, this fortune does not exist as cash sitting in a bank account. The overwhelming majority of Musk's net worth is tied to ownership stakes in companies such as Tesla, SpaceX, and other ventures. In other words, his wealth is largely illiquid. It fluctuates with stock prices, investor confidence, and market conditions. Any attempt to convert that wealth into usable funds introduces immediate financial and economic constraints. Financial expert Brian Ward of Procore Advisors emphasizes the first and most significant limitation: taxation. If Musk were to liquidate his holdings, selling shares on the open market, capital gains taxes would apply. These taxes alone could reduce the headline figure of $773.5 billion to approximately $400 billion. While still an extraordinary sum, it is nearly half of the original estimate. This reduction illustrates a critical principle often overlooked in public discourse. Net worth is not the same as spendable wealth. Now let us consider the premise that captures public curiosity most strongly. What if this remaining $400 billion were distributed to the American people? Assuming an even allocation among roughly 300 million US citizens, each individual would receive approximately $2,578. While any additional income is welcome, this amount is not sufficient to materially alter retirement outcomes for the vast majority of adults. For anyone over the age of 20, particularly those facing rising healthcare costs, housing expenses, and inflation, this sum would function more as temporary relief than long-term security. This reality exposes a crucial truth. Even the largest individual fortune in history cannot, by itself, resolve systemic economic challenges when divided across an entire population. Retirement insecurity in the United States is not a problem of insufficient generosity from billionaires. It is a structural issue involving wage stagnation, inconsistent savings, longer life expectancy, and the rising cost of living. However, the analysis does not end here. Ward outlines an alternative approach that shifts the conversation from immediate consumption to long-term investment. Instead of liquidating assets and triggering taxes, Musk could theoretically gift shares of his companies directly to citizens. In such a scenario, the tax burden would largely shift to the recipients, potentially preserving more value at the outset. Yet, even this strategy presents complications. A sudden redistribution of ownership on this scale could destabilize stock prices and undermine the very growth that gives these shares their value. Despite these challenges, this approach reveals something profoundly important. Time changes everything. When investment horizons are long, even modest initial contributions can grow into meaningful sums through the power of compounding. Ward illustrates this point with compelling projections. If a child under the age of 10 were to receive Musk shares worth roughly $2,578 today, and those shares grew at an annual rate of approximately 11%, the results would be transformative. A 10-year-old could see that investment grow to nearly $900,000 by age 70. A 1-year-old could potentially retire with more than $2.4 million. These projections are not guarantees, but they are powerful illustrations of a fundamental economic principle. Early investment matters far more than late contributions. Compounding rewards patience, consistency, and time, factors that are often inaccessible to adults already approaching retirement age. This insight carries significant policy implications. It supports initiatives aimed at early life investment rather than late-stage redistribution. Ward references a government proposal to fund $1,000 into designated investment accounts, sometimes referred to as Trump accounts, for children with eligible Social Security numbers between 2025 and 2028. Regardless of political branding, the underlying concept is sound. Providing capital at birth or early childhood leverages decades of growth, offering a far more sustainable path to retirement security than one-time payments later in life. Ultimately, the question of how many Americans could retire comfortably with Elon Musk's net worth leads us to a sobering but constructive conclusion. The answer is far fewer than we might expect if the wealth is distributed evenly and immediately. However, if the lesson of that wealth is applied strategically through early investment, disciplined growth, and long-term planning, the benefits could be profound. Elon Musk's fortune, then, is not a solution in itself. It is a case study. It demonstrates both the limits of individual wealth in addressing national challenges and the extraordinary power of compounding when time is on your side. The real opportunity lies not in redistributing billions, but in redesigning systems that allow every citizen, especially the youngest, to participate meaningfully in long-term economic growth.